Okay, time to get feisty. Let's bring in my Sunday night panel. Prue MacSween, Senator Holly Hughes, and some bloke they call Richo. Team, welcome.
Oh, it's so virtual. I can't even see any of you.
I know, either can I. That's the magic of television. Now, how are you all enjoying lockdown?
Oh, you know, cheers.
I'm worse. I'm in isolation because I was at that Nat's budget dinner. So apart from being in in lockdown, I'm in ISO. So it's a bit of a worry.
Well, you're making the most of it, I can see.
As far as I'm concerned, as one of the world's great lunches, I am not enjoying this at all. This
Mate, we're going to need a very long lunch after this, Richard.
Yeah.
But my wife's very happy about it because she can see me losing weight.
That's a consolation, Richard. Hey, listen, what do you think of Jacinta Price's elevation to the CLP's top ticket spot for the Senate? Prue?
Oh, it's brilliant. And it's not just for Northern Territorians or the Indigenous community. It's for all Australians. She speaks so much sense. It's so great to have someone intelligent who's not going to put up with any of the crap, who won't be dominated and you know, impacted by factions, and she'll speak her mind, she'll fight. I think it's a brilliant appointment. I just wish we could clone her.
Yeah, Holly, I can't wait till we see a little bit of a joust between Jacinta and Sarah Hanson-Young. I know who's a lot smarter.
Well, it's actually more Lydia Thorpe from the Greens that's going to be the more interesting dichotomy. I mean, Jacinta comes to the Senate with a very, very strong view that this whole Indigenous narrative of oppressors versus the oppressed is just ridiculous. And she is potentially a reasonable voice coming in on about ensuring Indigenous communities have the opportunity to grow and succeed and contribute. We have this attitude that we see from the left where they insist the Indigenous communities must cling on to this idea of victimhood. Now, you can't move ahead when you're consistently being told you're a victim. To have a voice from the NT rather than inner city Melbourne, I think is going to be absolutely refreshing. And, you know, it'll be great to see when Jacinta enters the Senate after the next election.
Yeah, it'll be on for young and old. Richo, the old, now new Deputy Prime Minister, Barnaby Joyce, says he doesn't need to be friends with the Prime Minister. Is this sort of a softening up period before he clashes during the week, do you think?
Well, I mean, what a load of rubbish. Of course he does. Yeah, how do you can't sort of coexist in a coalition and not get on. That's just nonsense. But Barnaby does do that occasionally. And he also likes to be very tough and hairy-chested for his audience. But the truth is, the Nats will do what they've always done, and that is do what the Liberals tell them. They'll always tell you how strongly they stand up.
If only that was true,
but I guess the question is, who wins? And I'll tell you who wins. The person with the numbers wins, and that's the Liberals.
Holly, why is it not true?
Well, what's not true is the Nats always doing what the Liberals want. That certainly is not the case at all. But we all know the old expression, if you want a friend in politics, get a dog. You know, you can have a very constructive working relationship without having a close personal friendship. I don't know the relationship between Barnaby and Scott. I've known both of them for a very, very long time. Scott has always been able to work with whomever, maybe coming back from my history with him even when he was the state director. But Barnaby has proven before that he can work across, you know, there was a couple of Liberal leaders at the time, and Barney managed to work with all of them. And, you know, the Nationals do have their own party room, their own choice as leader, and Barnaby certainly will inject a new energy into the role of National Party leader. And, you know, every now and then a good discussion around ideas doesn't hurt anybody. I'm sure the Labor Party could, you know, benefit from some of that.
Okay. Prue MacSween, I want to ask you about what I said at the top of the show. Is it not time that we stopped importing this damn virus? How about no jab, no fly, considering that places like the UK, Europe, Singapore, the United States, they are jabbed up to the max, unlike Australia? Surely we've got to stop, you know, causing our own lockdowns and causing our own distress.
Yeah, well, look, what's the incentive to get yourself jabbed if you don't give them some sort of a light at the end of the tunnel that either they can travel within their country or, you know, I'm all for the jab, don't get me wrong. I think you do it for yourself as well. And I think it's crazy, these people who aren't, you know, the lights, thank God, are suddenly coming on. There's panic stations. But I think that it's really important that we give people an incentive. We've got to realise that this thing's going to be something that we're going to live in probably for the rest of, well, certainly my life, if not yours. And I think that basically we need to adjust our thinking and encourage people to get double vaccinated and then give them a reason to believe, give them an opportunity to get out and travel. And we need people to be able to come in here. We need to get this country moving again, as long as we have the protocols in place, that we don't have morons driving, you know, picking up people without, you know, the proper masks and PPE and all the other precautions. We've got to make sure that the front line is properly battened down.
Richo, why isn't Scott Morrison doing at least what Gladys Berejiklian is doing and setting a target of vaccination so when we can reopen?
Well, I think national targets are very difficult to ever reach and incredibly difficult to compilate. So I can understand why he's not. But I also understand how people are so anxious to see this thing over with that they just want, well, they want to see it, you know, mark here, we've got there, and mark there, we've got there too, and we're gradually getting rid of it. I understand the desire for that. It's just very difficult to do. But you'd have to say, if you look at the, you know, worldwide, we're doing pretty well. I don't think we should be too ashamed of ourselves. I think we're getting jabbed at a pretty good pace.
We're way behind everyone
Holly,
else,
I know.
Richo.
Yeah, very true. Holly, I noticed that you're looking for your own senior colleagues to start giving fully vaccinated Australians a break as well, right?
Look, absolutely. And, you know, Richo and I are on unity ticket here. I think we've done a great job to date as a country and we should be really proud. But we do need to start looking at what the roadmap out of this looks like. I think if people have received double vaccinations or they're fully vaccinated from overseas and they want to return to Australia, they should be able to without necessarily hotel quarantine at home. We know people are less likely to get sick with the vaccination, but they're also less likely to spread it because of the viral load shedding. So if people being able to quarantine at home, I think would be a much more sensible approach when we come to people that are fully vaccinated. But I do think from the perspective of an Australian, you know, over in the US, they were giving people hamburger vouchers if they went and got their vaccination. Personally, I would prefer to see, and I know there's going to be an outcry if we call it a vaccine passport, but if you're fully vaccinated, you should be absolutely then able to travel around this country without restriction. I should be with you tonight from Queensland, can't be. Now, I don't get my second jab till Wednesday, but even post-Wednesday, I'm done. Like, there's no 10-day waiting period for me after the jab and then all of a sudden I can travel. There is zero benefits to me, except that if I get sick, but there is zero benefit to me with what I can do or not do around the country. And that's where I think people that are fully vaccinated, people looking to get fully vaccinated, you know, there needs to be a light at the tunnel for them. And if travelling around your own country isn't one of them, then, you know, I think, but again, this doesn't come back to the federal government. And as to Richo's point, we cannot mandate that. These border closures, health orders are all held by the states. So health orders and border restrictions are all done by state governments. So it either needs to be agreed at National Cabinet that that's the way they'll do it, but, you know, good luck getting McGowan to that table. And, you know, as much as I, you know, don't want to bring South Australia into it, I adore Stephen Marshall. I think he's a great human being. But this border closure outside is, you know, I think an overreaction.
He has been as risk averse as any of the premiers on a number of occasions. You're exactly right. I've got to leave you all to continue your lockdown as I bask in the Queensland sun. Prue
Yes, you're
MacSween,
so
Senator
tan.
Holly Hughes, Richo.
You know what, Richo?
Thank
Lunch
you.
is on him now after that one.
I always shout. Leave me alone. See you later.